Setting a small ensuite toilet in an existing bedroom. So if you're following along in this series, this is episode 2 of the project, and you'll notice how things are coming along. This is where we left off before, and we're going to pick up here. So let me give you a quick view of what's going on. So we've put a few plasterboards on the partitions. As you walk down this corridor, you'll see here there's a little bit of indentation. That will be for a wardrobe for the small box office bedroom. You've got like a bit of a not a walk-in wardrobe, but kind of that. Downstairs, I've boxed off some of that soil pipe for the toilet. Remember, this is going along the top of this wall. It'll be boxed off by this timber insulation. I'll do a sound test in this episode, so you'll see how loud it is, and also how I improve that to make it less noisy. So outside, I've drilled through the wall. I've taken off a couple of bricks and put the soil pipe out, so it goes along this wall. There's a little bit of a stack on top for airflow, and then it'll go down. There's a black pipe there. I'll have to dig up this floor and add it onto the manhole. So how are we doing so far? Not too bad. It's going well, and there's little bits and bobs left. However, in this episode, I'll walk you through the process of how I got around skimming. I did something different. I'll talk to you about the little box section for the piping and how that will be concealed with the table in the background. I'm not sure I would use this again. It wasn't the best finish, but it was able to give me a satisfactory option. So this is the tape that I use for the joints. You can get this from Screwfix or the other place, what's it called? The one that's near Screwfix. So you'll see now the plasterboards have been added to the wall. I've added a little block box over the toilet pipe section here. This will be like a little feet rest because I'm going to have a little table in this section. I might give you a little diagram. Stay tuned till the end of the video. I'll add a little extra picture of the layout, like a architect's type drawing, just so you can see it, because it's difficult to understand what's going on when you've got this video and you're seeing like lots of different angles. So this pipe will be covered by this lamination. I purposely did this lamination so I could take it off if I need to. It can be screwed away. So you'll see it's like a little bit of a box within a room, and then the back of that box I can use for spacing for that table. I use these metal corner brackets to give me a nice sharp corner, and tool station. That's it. Screwfix and tool station are the two options. And overall, considering I used really thin battens, the walls are satisfactory. I haven't used really thick battens because I didn't want to use up all the space, because obviously we're limited with space here. So you'll see that it's secure enough. It's a plasterboard on the outside, plasterboard on the inside, and the lighting wire is just pushed through there, and the plug will be just here on the opposite side. So overall, it's coming along, and you're seeing this a little bit later than everyone else. So I had these videos just scattered about, and I've put them all together. I thought I need to finish part 2. So I added all the videos together. So it's been a couple of weeks, months now since you would have had an update. But yeah, I've had a little other things. So joint filler is what I used. And throughout this, I used 3 bags in total. But I did joint filling, and I also did something which you saw at the start of the video. I kind of rolled it on the jointing compound on the walls, just to give me a finish like similar to skimming, because the existing walls have this funny wallpaper which has little bits in it, and if I left these smooth they will stand out. So I tried to get a similar finish on these as the existing walls of the house, just so that it marries up. So you'll see that you use your tools. I'll show you a little example a bit further along, but you can see here, you first go around, you fill up the gaps, because the plasterboards weren't that tight secured together. So I filled up the gaps with like a layer. I went around and then let that dry a little bit, and then went around and completed it again. The toilet itself flushes, you can see here, it's got a small flush, big flush, and the sink basin works as well. If you're thinking about getting these, I say don't get them. It's a bit of a nightmare. They're difficult to work on, they're very fiddly, and it would have been easier if I had a separate sink and a separate toilet to fit it. And you have to get all sorts of special like connectors and extensions. Here's another no-nonsense jointing compound. That's the second bag there. And then I had a third bag from Screwfix. So in total, that's something in the region of like 25 kilograms of jointing compound. But I did, I'll call it skimming. It's not technically skimming, but I rolled it on the mix onto the plasterboards. You can see here the wet and dry sections. I gave some sections 2 coats, and these little taping paper seam joints, I just teared them with my hand, left them in water. I found putting them in water was a little bit better than putting them on dry. it let me kind of smooth them out a little bit more, and it got rid of the gaps. These are used on all the joints and some of the sections on the corners. So you'll see here there's lots of like little sections, but here's a quick look at it. So I put some jointing compound down. I use like one of these big trowels. Just make a nice, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. It's one of those practice and you'll get better at it. There's no way I can explain it to you without you having done it. It looks very easy, and after a couple of attempts it is easy. So you just create a little creamy layer, like a nice long strip, and then you push on this jointing paper on it. And I use the trowel to push it into the corner, and then I kind of just wipe away all the excess. And I've got another scraper in my hand just so that I don't have to carry a bucket of this stuff with me, because after a while it gets heavy. So I'm just smoothing out the corners, you'll see here, and then I use that just to smooth it out and take out the excess jointing compound, filler, whatever you want to call it. And over time I leave it for a few minutes and I come back and I put another layer on it. I also did something a little bit different, which I found was easier. You'll see a lot of people use like these professional tools, but you don't have to. Just keep your tools clean. Have a bucket of water and just keep cleaning them, because then you'll get a nice smooth finish. I actually used a paintbrush and some filling compound just to reach into the corners. You can get this funny corner tool where you can use it, but I didn't have one, so I just used a brush, like a paintbrush, and that worked quite well because it's able to get quite a large mix on the wall. See, it's quite wet at the moment, but you can no longer see a gap where the joint of the plasterboard touches against the wall, and you can see some of the other sections I went over, and just for ease of view. So overall, if you want to get a plaster skimmer in, you can do. You won't see these little patches, because no matter what I did, you still see a little bit of a line, unless I'm not a professional at this. I'm just giving this a go. So you'll see here I had a little bit of a mix. I made it a little bit more watery, and then I used a brush to get into the corners, and this is me brushing into the tape in the corner, and I was able to get a nice smooth finish this way. So overall, it's like an option. It's something to consider. Definitely think about professionals, and if you can get someone in. I thought this is not a big enough job to get someone in, and that's why I just got on with it, and it was a bit easier. Also, considering my history with builders, you will know I've not been lucky with builders. Every time I get one, they're just worse cowboys than what I'm doing here. So what you can see now is all the sections are okay. We've got walls which are, there's still some sections which are wet. Once it's all dry, I'll give you a view at the end. So this inside, this is like the finished inside. I'm thinking of having some sort of tiling in there, so maybe that might be an option. And there's a quick table in the back in that alcove that I've left, so you can use that as like a computer desk area. Let's have a look downstairs. So you could hear there, just with that on its own, that you could hear the water coming down. So I already knew I was going to have to do some sort of soundproofing. So what I actually did was the easiest method for me. I went into Wix, picked up some top-up insulation. This is designed for lofts. However, the main thing is the pipe currently around this space, and it's just echoing. The water sounds really loud. So what I'm going to do is put a layer of insulation below the pipe, around the pipe, along this little box unit, and then when the plasterboards put on the bottom side and the front side, it'll all be concealed, and that means that noise won't be as loud. I'll do another video once I've done this. Well, in this video you'll hear it. Once I did all of this, I did another test, and it was very faint. You could still hear water, but more faint than what you just heard. And the insulation was basically one big roll. I used half of it and just did this. Here's a quick listen to it midway. And it definitely made a big improvement. So I was going to firstly just do the section where the water drops down into the elbow and moves along, because that's where most of the noise was. But I thought, as I'm here, I might as well just do the whole thing. So I just insulated the whole thing around it, because obviously the other side would be a neighbour's side. So at night, if you go to the toilet and you hear water, you might be worried. So I've insulated this side all the way around the pipe, so it doesn't go into the neighbouring wall either. So that way it's nice and quiet for everybody. Even if you're asleep, you won't hear it. So I basically put that insulation all throughout that section, and then proceeded to plasterboard it as well. So now you can hear it's like basically a little treacle. It's not that loud at all. I plasterboarded it, joined up the tapes, put a bit of filler on it, and put matte paint. I will be providing another update as things progress. So the pipe downstairs is all concealed. Let's pop back upstairs and have a look at this finish that I was talking about. So here you can see that's the finish on the plasterboards. The alcove has been added, and overall it's not bad. If I was to pay someone to do this, I would give him like a 7 out of 10. Probably 6 out of 10, 6 or 7 out of 10. There's still some patches there because some of the latest sections are still drying. There's a little desk there with the computer monitors, so that all worked out nicely. I've left a little area on top for storage as well, just to make the best use of the space. Internally, you know what, it's okay. You see that little dabbing, what I was talking about, those little bits. I've matched the existing wallpaper. And all I did there was use the roller and just rolled on a nice runny mix of the jointing compound on the plasterboards, and it held well. That's my old wall. It's quite like similar to this now, and this is the new wall. You can still see the tape joints, but you know what, I'm not too fussed. I'm okay with it. If you wanted a professional job, you hire a proper professional plasterer, and it's not a replacement for plastering. I can guarantee you that. And remember this little section I left here, now I got a cupboard there, so that cupboard can be used with a small bedroom as like a extra clothing cupboard. And then there's a walkway here, and we've got separate entrance to each room, and we've got a small toilet area. Overall, that's worked out nicely. Here's a finished look at the ceiling and everything, you know, once it's all been done. And there's a couple of sections here I added on right at the end. There's a couple of gaps I need to just fill up. I didn't have that section put in there because I was trying to fix the pipes in, and I left the bottom section right at the end. So in this section now, what I'm going to do is go through and put the floor down, which is going to be a lino floor. We've got light, we've got everything else we need, and the lino, I'm going to do it in a way that if there is any splashes or water, obviously because I want to make it as waterproof as possible, I don't want the floor getting wet. There's a couple of sections here that I need to finish off as well, so you'll see there. In the end, I'll show you like a full update on there. So I'm just showing you as it is. So I've got some lino. This is, how big was this? This was 8 foot by 4 foot. And you'll see I've had to cut a little bit of it. And this is just standard lino. Nothing expensive, nothing fancy. I just picked out a pattern and brought it in. And I just used a standing blade firstly, but that was a bit too fancy. And I ended up using scissors. It was a lot easier with a good pair of scissors. So you'll see here, on the wall, I'm actually lifting the lino up and giving you like an extra 2 inches of lino on the wall. You'll see why I did that in a second, because I've got some skirting board, which is some new stuff on Amazon. I saw it and it looked like it's worth a try, so I'm going to give it a shot and see if it works out. It's basically a foam skirting board sticker that you stick on, and I thought it would be good for this waterproof type situation because obviously I want it to be waterproof. So here's that. You can see I've left like a little bit of a flap which is against the wall, so if water ever falls in there, is never going to get soaked up by the plasterboard. And then I'm going to put the skirting board on top of this, so yeah, and spray adhesive the whole thing down to the floor so it will be secure. The Amazon's delivery came, so let me show you what I mean by that skirting board. So this is the foam skirting board. You can get on this online. You type in, I'll leave you a link in the description if you're interested, but type in skirting board, foam skirting board, finishing board, skirting sideboard or something, and you get these come up. Use a pair of scissors. You don't need any fancy cutting angles and stuff. You can see it's nice and easy to cut. And I wasn't sure, but you know what, when they show you things like this, I'm always interested to see will they actually work. So I'll do it, and in a couple of months I'll give you an update if it's not that good, and I can easily go around and put a wooden skirting board in if I want to. So all I'm doing here is just getting a point where I want to make sure there's contact with the wall and contact with this lino. I'm going to spray some adhesive below it, and that adhesive will secure the lino to the floor, and then I'll stick on the skirting board. So you can see here a little bit of section. I'm showing you what I'm doing here. I want it to stick, and when this adhesive, you basically spray it on, leave it for a few seconds, and then it becomes tacky and you can stick it. The skirting board I got 5 meters worth, and that was more than enough. So you can see here now, this is how it'll be. It's a cream finish. I wanted it to be a little bit cream so it matches the floor lino with the wall. The wall is a white, brilliant white. If it's magnolia, it might have been better, but yeah, I just did white because I had a bucket of white. So here you peel the stickers off. These stickers, double-sided tape is actually quite good. It's like a jelly type material. So once you stick it, leave for 24 hours and it'll actually stick quite nicely. And the good thing here, remember, the lino is up against the wall. So now if water ever falls in there, it's never going to be really sucked up by the wall. It'll just sit there, pile there, so you can use a mop. I'm not anticipating any water coming here really, but you never know. If you wash your hands and a few sprinkles come off, or you put water in like a bucket or a water bottle or something, the water is clean. It's from the mains, so you know you can do the. Remember, the toilet on the top has a sink and a tap, so that's a possibility. As you can see here, I just got the corner sections taped up just so they stay together while I'm doing the adhesion. So you spread the adhesive down, and then same thing again. I get the foam board and I'm just going to go around the corner. No fancy 45-degree cuts or anything. One thing I will say about this foam core is it wasn't that great. It had like little indentations on it. But considering like there's quite a few little things here which are, novice, cowboyish, I would call them. Yeah, it's something to consider because the normal person and DIY person will use this and you're not going to get an excellent finish. It's not like wood. It's got funny indentations, if that makes sense. So yeah, I basically stuck this on, moved it along the wall, and overall, you know what? It's alright. It's alright. So let's get the toilet hooked up and see how well it performs. So in this episode, you basically saw me moving the toilet. I didn't want to split this video over too many sections, so I'll try and keep this as my last segment. I've done part 1, and this is part 2. At the end of this, I'll give you a little layout of what it looks like, and I'm going to put some tiles in on behind the splashback, behind the sink, so those will work well. So let's have a little listen to how it sounds. Here's the toilet, and the sink and everything working, and keep an eye out at the end of the video. I'll give you a little layout of what things look like. So here's a quick look. If you're looking on a top-down view, these are the stairs that come up. So you climb up the stairs and you enter one room that way, enter one room this way. This used to all be one room. What I've done is I've put some partitions in place. So this has been partitioned. This red one is the partitions I've added. And what that means is this room has separate, now this is a small box room. That's got the indentation because remember we've got a wardrobe here. So with that wardrobe being there, what that means is we can have like a wardrobe just in there which can be accessed by that room. This is all separate. There's a door here which closes. There'll be a bifold door there to close the toilet off. So this room is totally separate. You can walk up here, you can walk past here. This is a hallway now, and then this room has a door, so you can go into that room, the little small room. So the simple fact of it is all we've basically done is this is what it used to be. So you need to walk through this room to get into this room. But all we in fact done is, if you keep it simple, you can add a partition like that. Leave a space for a door, and just add a little box here. What that means is now there'll be a door here, there'll be a door there. So this is all hallway, and that's a separate room, and we can still fit like a bed there and a computer desk behind that section of the toilets here. Does that make sense? Hopefully that gives you an idea. A very rough layout, but this is a top-down view. Typical terrace house, which is like this. Up the stairs, room on that side, room on that side. Normally the small room would tend to be a bathroom, but if you've got a 3-bed house, that's a bedroom. And all I've done is divided it in a way that you kind of see that. Because on the video it's difficult to see.